Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing.
All right. I'm good. How you doing?
Troy, Claire with Instacart. Got a mask on like that.
No, now I can see. I'm not, no.
Microphone 1 2 1 2.
Yep.
It won't ring, but I'll be distracted by the vibration.
Dope spot in Philly, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Everybody asking me. Eat so much stuff.
Yeah. I haven't had a cheesesteak.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's you doing? All right. Welcome to Finding Your Flavor, Building Business and Success in the Food Industry, hosted by McDonald's. And an acknowledgement of McDonald's, our host, you should be getting, if you haven't already gotten it, arch cards, courtesy of McDonald's. This is a really great panel, as you'll learn during the conversation, because when we decided to put this together, the goal was to have multiple touch points for the different ways you could enter the food industry from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So I'm going to introduce each of our panelists. And by the way, I'm Alfred, Edmond Jr., Senior Vice President, Executive Editor at Large at Black Enterprise. Happy to serve as your moderator. I'm going to introduce their name and title and kind of give you an idea of their particular area of the food business. And of course, then during the course of the conversation, you will learn from them the different avenues of entry, resources, tips, advice, based on their success. They're here because they're great examples of what you can do in this industry from an entrepreneurial standpoint. A couple of housekeeping rules or ground rules. There will be a Q&A segment. We're going to try to devote at least 15 minutes, if not more, to Q&A, because we recognize that we can't read your mind. There may be things that you want to know that we don't anticipate or cover during the course of our discussion. So we want to give plenty of time for Q&A. But we really want to get as many questions in as possible. So I'm going to stress, I'm going to remind you, when it's time for Q&A, please make it your name, your company, and an actual question. Not this is what happened, not business plan, not here's my life story, not because we don't want to hear it, but because we are on a limited amount of time. The panelists' time is very valuable, and your time is very valuable. So if there's people standing in line behind you, we just don't think it's fair if one person kind of dominates the Q&A and other people don't get their questions in. Is that fair? Is that good? We're good with that? Okay, so I may remind you of that again right before Q&A in case some people come in a little later. Don't be afraid to nudge them and say, listen, when it's Q&A, just make it a Q. But I just want to make sure we have as productive a session as possible. Without further ado, starting from my immediate right, we have Tanya Hill-Holliday, owner, president, and CEO of Tanway Enterprises, DBA McDonald's. She's here to talk from the perspective of a franchisee.
Yes.
Yes. We also have Nahum, say your last name again for me.
Jeannot.
Jeannot, I would have got it right. Nahum Jeannot, founder and chief oatmeal officer of GoOats, and also an Instacart ad partner who could talk about from the food product side. And last and certainly not least, especially if you were at our awards luncheon yesterday, we have a really outstanding entrepreneur and philanthropist, Derrick Hayes, restaurateur, philanthropist, and founder of Big Dave's Cheesesteaks. Yeah. So as you see, we try to give kind of a diversification around the different ways you might want to go into the food business. Starting with you, Tanya, talk about how you entered and became a McDonald's franchisee and why that became the choice for you in terms of your entrepreneurial pursuits.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for having me. It is indeed a pleasure to be here. Again, Tanya Hill-Holliday. I own and operate 12 McDonald's restaurants with my husband and partner who's sitting out there. For me, it started as a part-time job. It started working my way through college. And it certainly was not an intent. It was not a plan to become an owner in McDonald's. Quite frankly, it wasn't even a plan to progress through the system. But fortunately, I did. And I went from crew to vice president on the corporate side. And after about 20 years on the corporate side, I decided to, you've helped so many people become owners, and you work with so many people, so why don't you just do it for yourself?
Excellent.
And so that was my entry thought as I began to have a vision for what it would be like to own my own business, and particularly in an area that I had so much passion around. And so my drive was around that passion of, you're doing it well, you're helping other folks, so do it for yourself and become an owner.
Excellent, excellent. Nahum, you're a great example of my favorite food stories, which is there's some kind of recipe. I mean, Dave is too, come to think when we get to him, or an experience or a certain kind of food or a certain type of cultural experience you had growing up that stuck with you and became an idea for a food business. Tell us about GoOats and your entry into that space.
Yeah, no, great question. And yeah, thank you for having me, Instacart, BE. My background, I think I can't tell the story without mentioning my parents, because them growing up in Haiti and having farms, and so at an early age they really taught us the importance of clean eating, et cetera. And so growing up, running to school in the mornings, I remember always coming down to a bowl of oatmeal, and it wasn't just oatmeal where my mom opened up a pack and then poured water into it. It was milk and cinnamon sticks and spices, and she slow cooked it, and it was just this bowl of deliciousness. And so I always loved food, loved to eat, and then I ended up becoming a chef. And so fast forward several years, cooking at different establishments, starting here in the city, in Philly. In 2015, I worked at Hyatt Regency in Tyson's Corner, and they for the grand opening event, they asked me to write a breakfast menu, and it had to be bite-sized items that our guests could easily pick up, walk around the hotel with without making a mess. And I really wanted to make oatmeal like Mom made it, but running around with a bowl in your hand just isn't cool. It's not sexy. And I'm like, if only I could make this bite-sized. And that's exactly what I did. I launched it at this event in 2015. Everyone went bananas over it, and that's when the light bulb went off. I'm like, you know what? I want to share this with the rest of the world. This doesn't deserve to just stay within these four walls, and the rest is history. And so it's just been an uphill. It's just been uphill from there, and so it's been great.
And Derrick, similarly, you have in common that part of this is from your culture as a Philadelphian.
Yeah.
Part of it is obviously rooted in your relationship with your father. For those of you who heard this story a couple days ago, but I still want you to tell it for people who may not have heard it. Talk to me about going to your love of your dad, the tradition of the Philly cheesesteak, and how that led you to become a restaurateur, and now building multiple locations.
Well, for one, I'm a hustler. Me coming from West Philly, we don't have many resources. Yeah. So when I was building my brand, I was kind of lost. Like, I moved to Atlanta in 2014. My dad passed away in 2009. I watched him take his last breath. And at that time, I was trying to find myself because my basketball career ain't work out, so I was running the streets and I was getting in trouble. And to honor him in the right way when, my last conversation with him was to stand on my own 10 toes, not to work for the white man like he did his whole life and had something left behind. So I got all this pressure on me when I get to Atlanta because it's this big city. I got a new opportunity, but I don't know what to do. I had 5 years of my life taken away from me, going through back surgery after back surgery. I had an accident in 2009, right the same year I lost my father. So
oh, wow.
It's like this roller coaster ride just kept hitting me. But the one thing I want to say is, in life, all of your obstacles and your roller coaster rides are supposed to happen for your success, because when you at your downside of it, the moment you say, I failed, you failed.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to take that and learn from those situations. So for me, I started in a Lower Shell gas station in 2014. Nobody wanted to lease me in space. I came to Atlanta with a bunch of money. I was blowing and partying. Like I said, I was disabled, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life, but I wanted to honor my dad the right way. So 2014, I opened something called Dave's Philly Water Ice, which nobody in Atlanta knew what water ice was. So I'm sitting there waiting for the line to go out the door, and then nobody, showing up. But I kept my faith and grinding. And that same year, the person who taught me how to cook was my grandfather. On Sundays, if I ain't go to church with him, you finishing the Sunday dinner. So all of these things I learned from, the people in my family, the obstacles that I've been through, led me to Big Dave Cheesesteaks, because when I lost my grandfather, the same situation I had with my father, I got to talk to him. I got to be there on his last days. So the men that brought me up gave me the morals and the principles that I have right now, with 2 locations that I'm building my 31, and I'm nationally known, because I'm not selling food. I'm selling my story. I'm selling my resources. I'm bringing this to the communities. They see it. You know what I'm saying? So they see my heart. They ain't just saying, oh, it's a young kid that sells cheesesteaks. There's cheesesteaks all over the world. But why was I the one to be able to take it out the tri-state? Why was I the one to make it nationally known? Because I'm selling a story. I'm selling hope. I'm giving the youth a chance. So that's what I do. So when I build a Big Dave's in these communities, I'm hiring 60 people. And I'm taking these 60 people and I'm saying, you got an opportunity as long as you want it, and I'm going to give it to you. I ain't selling no dreams. Right now, it's 5 people in my company that started with me since day one. They ain't waiting for no 401k. They ain't waiting for no retirement. They got equity in my company because they put that hard work, that blood, that sweat and tears just like I did.
Yeah, yeah. All 3 of you hit on some significant themes that's going to be important to this conversation. And I want to start with 2 things, Derrick, that you hit on. I'm going to go to Nahum because we just had this conversation. You and I just had a conversation about how what we think of as bad, rough times often is actually plants the seeds of opportunity to do things that we wouldn't have thought to do. I mean, Derrick just talked about that. He talked about disability, loss of his father, kind of even being lost in life temporarily, at least in terms of what you wanted to do, but that being the environment where Dave could do what he did. This other thing I want you both to touch on is the whole idea of you're not selling food per se. Most of the food that's being sold, you can get anywhere from anybody. McDonald's has a specific story around what makes that a storied franchise. GoOats, I went to your website, of course, and saw you just talking about your grandmother. There's more to it than, oh, I can give you some oats that you can eat while walking around a conference room. First you, Tanya, and then you, Nahum, talk about those 2 themes. A story that helps drive the reason to be of your food business, and the inevitability in the food industry, if you don't know that there's going to be some rough times, even a successful brand, you're going into the wrong business. I mean, maybe that's true for all business, but the food industry is a tough business no matter which way you enter. Tanya, and then Nahum.
So for me, it again from public housing, raised by a single parent, and as I'm working this McDonald's thing in college in Baltimore, Maryland, Morgan State University grad.
Morgan.
Yeah, Bears.
That's right.
It was an opportunity. And the one thing that, for me as an owner, that is important that I share and sell is giving our folks an opportunity to grow. Most people think that McDonald's is not a real job. Quite frankly, I thought the same thing. It wasn't a real job. It was just a job to make some part-time dollars to go out and party with and do all the things we do when we're in college. But the reality of it is, it's the economic background in our communities. McDonald's is. It's an opportunity to provide education, not only through scholarship, but just basic skill sets, basic character building. I mean, it taught me to be more disciplined. It taught me to be on time management. You know, it teaches you to manage your dollars. You know, if you only made $500, well, you still got to manage it, okay? And, you know, the other thing for us is that it's employment. You know, I pride myself on giving somebody a chance to earn income. And on any given day, my roster would be anywhere between 500 and 600 employees on any given day, okay? They come and go, we come and go. But there is a number of folks that stay because they see me. They see the fact you started as crew. And one of my tagline is, started as crew and so can you. And now I own McDonald's restaurants. And the other tagline is, where people think that, oh, I don't want to do that job. It's a dirty job. I mean, you mean you got to clean? You got to clean toilets? I tell the story all the time. I hated cleaning toilets, but you got to clean toilets in order to own them someday. And so today, you clean them yesterday, you own them tomorrow, all right? So, and that's a true story. Thank you. That's a true story. You know, I don't care if you're a sanitation worker. Be the best. You just never know where it would take you. And that happened to be my story. I didn't, again, plan to be in McDonald's long term, but it was an opportunity. Got some more education, right? And again, being in the community, being the backbone of the community is one of the things that we brand ourselves on as McDonald's owners.
And one of the best things about the food industry, and Derrick, you touched on it too, is that it is a great way to create opportunities at multiple levels of entry points, where you don't necessarily have to have an MBA to enter this industry. You could pretty much start from anywhere if you're willing to do the work.
Yes.
No?
Yeah, so for me, as I mentioned earlier during the intro, my parents immigrated here. And so, you know, they left everything they had. They came over here and took a risk to try to give, and now I have 4 siblings, to give us a better life. And so growing up, the main thing that was instilled in me was work ethic. Like nothing is going to be handed to you. And so at a very early age, you know, like I'd try to hustle my dad and, you know, hey, pay me this and I'll do this. And, you know, just that whole relationship of okay, you do the work, you get what you put into it, and just that work ethic, that drive, that nothing is going to be handed to you. That's what was instilled into me at an early age, and I didn't know GoOats was going to be a thing down the line. And I think after I graduated from high school, I was just driving around in the neighborhood, not too far from here, and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, how about we put up a hair salon here?" I know, totally away from food, but that was what he instilled in me as a kid growing up. Like, hey, you can be creative, go out there and think. And for me, I just wanted to hustle and make them proud. And I got the entrepreneurship gene, and I just put it to work. And I'm like, hey, I want to put this barbershop here. And he's like, okay, I'll buy the property. And that's what I did for the next 2 years. But him being able to do that for me gave me the confidence that I needed to be able to walk and do and execute other things down the line. And so leading up to starting GoOats, GoOats is, I think for me, GoOats is what I try to instill in, the individuals that I have working with me now. It was a friend of mine who, just believed in, I had this idea and she wanted to help me take it to the next level. And it's a story of, in 2015, it was just this random idea. And now it blows up into this, now we got to go on Shark Tank, we got to go into all these different spaces. And it's a story of perseverance. And we had an opportunity when we started to, because in CPG manufacturing, you have the option to either self-produce yourself or you use a third-party manufacturer. For us, I toured the third-party space, and I said, wait a second, I've been in kitchens all along. Like, they have kettles, they have machines. I could do this myself. And so what did I do? I went back home with the little bit that I had in my hand. I just put that to work. And still, the examples that my father taught me as a kid, are still being put into practice now. And so we built up our own plant. We started with just a little ice cream scoop, making 3,000 pieces a day. I didn't know what the next steps were going to look like, but I just kept at it. And little by little was able to find a partner. Now we have our own manufacturing plant. And for us, it's like I was saying, it's a story of resilience. It's a story of perseverance. Regardless of what happens, I think the other thing too is you don't have to have the whole thing figured out. You don't need to know where this piece of money is going to come from or this resource is going to come from. I'm very big on the little bit that you have on your hand. You use it, and your gift, which you have, is going to make room for you. Yeah. And it was true then, and it's still true today. We've hit some success, but we're still hustling on a day-to-day basis.
Derrick, and again, I'm hearing this theme for all of you. The food business is not a business where you can afford to be absent or not hands-on. You heard from each of them that this starting where you are and doing something where you are, grinding, hustling. I mean, Derrick, you talking about starting out working out of a space in a gas station.
Yep.
You didn't know what the next step was going to be, but you knew if you didn't do something today, nothing was going to happen tomorrow. Talk about that as an element of working in this business, no matter how you enter the food business.
I think whether it's food or any business or anything you do in life, you got to have self-belief. Nobody can give you that. Because you can't take something and want somebody else to believe in your dream if you ain't fully putting into it. So I knew when I started, my brand, I just was going to give it my all no matter how I did it. I wasn't going to quit, especially honoring my father. Like right now, Big Dave is known nationally because I didn't give up. So I remember days when I was battling paying my house bills and I'm paying my restaurant bills. You losing employees, the ones that you think gonna be there with you along the way, you love them like family. They see you growing, they want that same success. Because what we don't understand is like I tell people, it's like on Christmas, right? When that little kid get that toy and everybody want to play with that toy and he like, I got the best toy. We take that same mentality up to adulthood. And when we get that success, we hold it. We don't know how to share it. So when I was building in my brand, I was trying to let people understand, like, It's okay to feel left out, feel lost, but this gonna be home for you. We're gonna build this union together as family. We ain't gotta be blood, but as long as we culture impacted and we changing people's lives, we gonna make it.
Yeah.
And I've been telling my team since day one, even when I was cooking on the 3-foot grill, I was the cashier, the fry cook, the accountant, anything you wanna name. And for me, the hardest thing for me was I actually had the money and the resources at the time to do anything I wanted to do, and I blew it all. So I had to go back down to ground zero. I could have easily said, I'm coming back to Philly, I'm giving up on my life. But I said, there's no way I'm gonna leave my neighborhood and not be a good representation of making it out. There's no such thing as backwards, it's only going forward. So I could show the next generation of what to look at when they leave out. And now, all I wanna do is create the resources through my brand so people can say, okay, I'm not gonna give up, I'm gonna keep fighting, I'm gonna keep going, because at the end of the day, nobody is really a bad soul, you just lost.
Right.
You give up on what you really wanted to do. There's people out here right now that was probably the best athlete, the best concrete worker, whatever you wanna name it. They might've had a kid early on, stopped their career, what they wanted to do. Right now, I'm writing a book, and it's gonna take you from 0 of believing yourself to back to 100, because you seen somebody that look like me that walked through 5 back operations. I lost over 10 family members in 10 years to cancer, and I still took every single day of my life, whether the streets, anything anybody said about me, and I leaded the pack the right way so they could see, you ain't gotta be no athlete, you ain't gotta be no rapper, you could be an entrepreneur and make it out. And I'm a college dropout, and I still made it.
Right.
And I'm my family's first millionaire.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
say that
you can
again,
do it.
family's first millionaire.
Family's first millionaire. And that's on paper and in the bank account.
I want each of you, again, now we're talking about different paths to the spaces in the food businesses that you're occupying, to talk about, briefly, but I want it brief and in detail, I can't have both, but as much as you can, the financial aspects of building your business. There's specific things about becoming a franchise that you had to be prepared for. And also, to emphasize your point about education, I remember my first tour of McDonald's University in Chicago, or in the Chicago area. So the educational part about learning that business is very intentional with McDonald's. But talk to me about, each of you, about the road you traveled to finance the business along the way. I know some of it was just you pulling money out of your pocket. Derrick, you talked about this bill may get paid and this one may not get paid. I know that when you're talking about building a manufacturing operation and producing yourself, each of you went through a different path in terms of the financial demands of your business. So in order, Tanya, Nahum, and Derrick, talk to me about what that looked like for you.
So mine may be a little bit different for those individuals who worked at McDonald's and became owners. Most of us, or all of us, had some form of stock or stock options. And I was fortunate enough to have so many stock options built up, and stock options are given based on performance. So whomever you're working for, you got to be the best performer, because you don't know who's watching you, right? And at the end of the day, if you're a best performer, that little egg nest is building up. And so for me, it was a little bit different, because I let that egg nest build up. And when I had a chance to become an owner, I went into that egg nest, stock options, and purchased my first store.
I want to make a point, because while it may have been a little bit different, here's the thing, because I think even Derrick hit on that, because he said he had some money.
Yeah.
What you do and how you manage your money now is going to say something about what you could do with your business later.
Yeah.
I tell people your first investor really is you if you're managing your money right.
That's right.
So if you have money that you can put aside, you should be thinking about, even if you don't know what kind of business you're going to start yet, and you guys are interested in the food business, I need to keep this as like my saving, my cash fund, because at some point I'm going to be ready to do it, and you may be the first person that finances it.
Yeah, but I think the key thing for me, and able to have grown from that one store to that second store and third store and so on and so on up, is building equity in that restaurant. So the very first restaurant that I purchased, we built the equity in that store. So sometimes you didn't take home a paycheck. We all know how that is. We work hard. We don't get paid. We're the last one, even if we may not get any, right? But you build the equity up in that restaurant that will allow you to buy the second restaurant, okay? And that's been my journey, and I've been fortunate enough to do that along the way. Now, at the end of the day, if someone is coming in to purchase a McDonald's, in the case of a McDonald's, you gotta have some equity. And it's about $500,000 you gotta have. And a restaurant may cost anywhere between $1 million and $2 million or so to purchase. But you gotta have a plan and a strategy And, you know, it's like spend a little, save a little. Now you got to pay a little bills. Do your tithes, pay your tithes, pay your tithes, pay your tithes, pay your tithes, okay? But save a little so you can have that egg nest where you can start with and build on and build on and build on and build on. So that's been my journey.
Nahum?
Yeah, so for me, I was working as a chef, and at that point, chefs started to, you know, eclipse a little bit in terms of pay, and so I was doing pretty well. But at the time, so I was single, $80,000 a year. You know, that's good for Northern Virginia. But I didn't know I was going to be opening up a business like a year or two later. And so, you know, I just bought a condo, bought a brand new Mustang, and then I'm at this hotel event. I get this idea. 6 months later, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna spread this thing and share it with the world. And what happened then was, okay, I'm starting to look at everything. Where am I going to get the money from to fund this business? So I'm laying in my room. First I'm driving down the road. I'm thinking, and next thing you know, I'm like, okay, I need to get rid of this car that I'm paying $800 a month for. So I go into the Honda dealership. I'm like, I want that. They're like, are you crazy? You know, it was a Ford Mustang GT. I still think about it till this day. I was petty. I kept the key. I still ain't give it back yet. And then later that year, probably a few months later, I'm laying in my room. I haven't even finished fixing up the condo. And that same voice, you're going to have to move out. So I move out the condo, and I live in somebody's basement for the next 6 years. But what that did was it cleared up about like $2,500, $3,000 in cash that now I could put back into, you know, paying my employees, buying ingredients. Because the first year, like we did, you know, we were in the negative. And so, you know, I cleared out my 401k. I maxed out credit cards that I'm just now finished paying off. But you look back and it was worth it. And I share those stories to say, like, and I mentioned earlier about my friend who gave me my first $25,000. It wasn't an investment. It was just, she saw what I was doing. She tasted the product and she was like, oh my gosh, like, you're onto something. I want to be a part of this. And at that point, it made me think. Now I look back and I think about it and I'm like, well, if she didn't see me making those sacrifices, she would have never jumped in. And so I think it's to what you were saying earlier, like, nobody's going to work harder on your dream. Like, you have to do the work. And when you do the work, people come around you and support you. And that was the first $25K. And then little by little, but you know, a CPG brand where you need a couple $1 million to start, that goes by quick. And then my mentor at the time, who I just meet up with, he has multiple businesses, was also our pastor of the church. I would just seek him for advice. And when we landed our first account with Whole Foods, he was like, okay, like, you're in the big leagues now, how much? And I'm like, what? And he's like, how much? And that was, and so far it's just been just the two of us, just, you know, him continuing to pour in money as we need it and to keep us afloat and to allow us to scale without having to go to outside investment and cut up the company 100 different ways. And so I've just been grateful, but all that hustling, all that sacrificing, so to speak, is what kind of helped me land him, and it also teaches you how to be a good steward. I'm a firm believer, like, if you don't steward what you have, like, if you can't be trusted with $10, you'll never get 100. If you can't be trusted with 1,000, you will never get 100,000. And I think all those things, I can look back on it now and say, okay, those were all tests along the way, and God was testing me to see, okay, hey, are you going to be ready? Because I got $250,000 for you, you know, in 2019. But are you going to prove that you can handle it? And I'm just glad that I passed the test, because when you don't pass the test, he keeps you going around and around.
That's right.
And so,
that's right.
Derrick, man, you're now opening multiple outlets. You know, again, I still get stuck with, you started out with a space in a gas station, and now you're building really a restaurant empire. Talked about the financial challenge, the financial trail the journey that you took to get from point A to point Z?
Well, I'm gonna start off saying this. Life is not a track meet, it's a marathon. It's all about how you end. So for me, when I started, I knew that my ending was big. I used to say I just want big Daves on these blue signs on exits so my kids can run into big Daves and I could feel like it's theirs. That was always the goal. So when I was building my journey, when I would get to a different level, you know, when people...
But Derrick, did you have that in mind in the gas station?
Nah, I had this since day one, since the day
Wow.
I got Dave's Philly Water Ice LLC in 2014 in my apartment, 706 on the 7th floor in Atlanta, Georgia. I can remember like it was yesterday. I'm a dreamer. I've always been a dreamer. When my basketball career ain't work, I got depressed, but I had to figure it, you know, something else out. You know, what I wanted to do with myself. But along the way, like I said, I started out, when I came to Atlanta, I had the money, but when I built my brand, I didn't have anything. So I, just like he said, when he was selling his cars, I was riding around in a $100,000 Jaguar with a donut on it because I couldn't pay the money to change the tire. Oh, and my license was suspended because I got caught with a super speeder and they took my license. So I'm taking my daughter to daycare every morning, suspended driver's license, donut. I'm going to Restaurant Depot with the little $500 I keep rotating every day. You know what I'm saying? My trunk, I got the whole car filled up with fries and whatever else I'm selling. But I always knew my dream. And then anybody ain't see that, I was going to show them because I'm the type person, you make me go harder when you don't believe in me. You put that battery in my back. And I had a lot of that going on around me. I was like the talk of the town, like, oh, he blew all this money, he on the grill, he cooking. Nah, I was building my career. I was building residual income. Because I remember going to the car lot, and I was like, listen, man, I got all this money. I want to buy a car. And they told me, you don't have a job. You can spend that money today. What you going to do tomorrow when the car no due? And that's what made me really start realizing that, hold up, you could have a lump sum of money, but when you don't have residual income, you still don't have nothing.
That's right.
So in the restaurant space, I had to learn that you only got 15% profit margin in the whole business. I've had months where I've touched $500,000 and didn't make anything because I didn't understand my bottom line. I didn't understand food costs. I didn't understand sales and use tax. I didn't understand how to keep the bills paid without eating up my profits while I'm going along the way. But these are the things I had to teach myself through my failures. I got a chance to hang around the Jewish family. They was making a bunch of money. And while, I'm sitting around, sometimes people might not understand, but you soaking it in like a sponge. Accidentally, if you was around somebody that was smarter than you, you're going to get smarter. So I was in conditioning, I was training. I didn't know that I was getting ready for this, massive success. But when it came for me, I was ready. I met Robert Smith. I've been on the cover of Essence. I made the Forbes list all in 1 year off of me believing and never giving up on my dream. And I'm a kid from West Philadelphia. My mother and all my family right there.
All right.
The house that they bought back in the 70s probably was like $8,500, and now I live in a country club. Now I'm able to bring out more resources to my family. And I did all of this. I ain't do none of this for no money. I talk to God every day. My mission was I wanted to prove that I'm not the average CEO. I'm a young black man with over 40-something tattoos on my body, and you're going to respect me just like how you respect everybody else with the suit on.
All right.
And that's what I really wanted to put out into these communities, and that's what I'm doing. But the financial side of it has, I would say, been a roller coaster ride because my locations cost $600,000 to build. Just like she said, 500. So I can attest to that. So you gotta understand this. Ain't no payment plan. These contractors, these GCs, they want all theirs. You ain't getting this final CO until I get all my money.
Right.
So when I built my downtown location, that was $699. My gas station costed $100,000, so I took a big jump into a location that was 3,200 square feet. And everybody was telling me, hey man, that's a big space to take, but I knew there's a college across the street with 60-something thousand kids in it. Atlanta got millions of people in it. And I got Instagram, and I know how to market. And I'm going to have these people online. And I was able to start having hundreds and hundreds of people online. And honestly, I had days in the gas station where I probably wouldn't even make $200 a day. And Eve, shout out to Eve, because she's a big part of my story. Eve came in the gas station one day, and she bit the cheesesteaks shooting barbershop. And she said, if it's good, I'm going to post it on every social network I got. And at the time, I'll be honest with you, I probably ain't have 2 nickels to stretch together, and I had 4 employees. Every Friday, I'm going to try to figure out how to pay. So you never know who's going to come and be a part of your journey that's going to uplift you to get to the next level. So you always need somebody. So I tell people that don't say you don't need nobody, because she was a big part of that, and that's how I got there.
Yeah, we're going to go to Q&A, so let's line up at the mic. Once again, we want to get as many questions in as possible, especially if somebody's standing behind you on the line. Respect that and ask your question so we can get to the next question right away. I see the mic.
Right here.
Yep. No questions? Sir.
Hi, how are you? My name is Edmond Dufresne. I'm work for EXIM. We're a federal government agency that support companies that are exporting. Congratulations to all your success. And I'm just, quick question. What's your dream for the next 5 years or your goal for your company? Are you guys looking to explore outside of the US, or just curious?
I'll take this one. So for me, I'm about to scale up. I'm in the middle of a very big raise. I'm opening up 88 locations by 2028. I'm opening other restaurants, vegan restaurants. I'm opening more vegan bars. I'm writing a book right now, and I'm putting seasoning out, and I'm about to become the #1 philanthropist in the country, because I'm never going to stop empowering people and inspiring. So that's what my next 5 years is going to look like.
All right.
I'll go next. So my ultimate goal at this point is to see my people grow. So, somebody gave me some shoulders to stand on, so I want my shoulders to be broad and see my people grow and grow and grow. And that's financially, spiritually, from a business standpoint. Of my locations, 11 out of 12 individuals started as crew. And then they run, $1 million McDonald's restaurants. And so my goal is, again, to see my people constantly grow, grow, and grow.
All right.
Yeah, for me, we grew this thing from 13 stores to 60 doors. Today we're in over 2,000 doors, and we have e-com partners, Instacart, GoPuff, and for me, I'm a challenger, and so we're disrupting the oatmeal market. Oatmeal was consumed in a specific way for so many years, and we're disrupting that. The beginning of this year, me and my partner were talking, and we starting out, we always asked ourselves the question, okay, we build this thing up and we sell it, somebody buys it out, but then the question started to dawn on me, okay, well, what if we're not supposed to sell? What if, when you think of oats, you think of Quaker, and it's like, okay, well, what if we're supposed to buy Quaker? And so, that's how, the mindset kind of like evolved and shifted. And so I'm just excited I'm continuing to, store what we have now, continue to build that up, but the goal is to continue to build retail doors, and yeah, I want something that's gonna last. Like, I got a 1-year-old. I want him to see what's possible. And so if I don't know what the right or wrong answer is, but whether it's sell or it's a purchase, but it is definitely something serious to think about. And so.
We have another question. Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rena. So I have 2 questions. One is for
I can
Ms.
only
Tanya.
let you do one because it looks like there are people standing behind you.
Okay, no problem. So then my main question would be then, for product production, if you had a concept for a product that you wanted to produce, but you weren't really sure how to go about doing that, what would be the how to? And forgive me if I missed it, because I did come in a little bit late.
No.
Yeah, I'll take that. So I think the first thing to do is whatever that product is, whether it's a sauce, whether it's a jam, whatever that product is, I think first thing is go and find someone else that's already doing it, and kind of start looking at that landscape, because that'll cut a lot of work out for you. Like, why reinvent the wheel? If it is something that's innovative, it's never been done before, okay, you have a lot more work to do. But and potentially find a mentor, find somebody else that's in the CPG industry that's selling products on the shelves. People want to help. I had to stalk individuals on Instagram just to get 5 minutes, just to buy them coffee or tea or whatever it is. And so find a mentor, somebody that you could just pick their brain, and they'll point you in the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
Next question.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Wajia Muhammad. I just had a quick question for both of you gentlemen, because I'm just listening to you all stories and how you progress from coming from the neighborhoods and things that you did with very of low income, very of no knowledge of people knowing you, besides your street cred or community cred. What do you suggest as far as expanding for small black businesses who are out there, who people might not know of? What do you suggest for expanding your business farther? Everything now is social media. I'm not big on social media, it's just really not my thing, but I know that's the network where everybody is going down. So what do you all suggest in regards to expanding for your name to get out there a little more?
What's your business?
I have a catering company, Flavor Rush LLC. We just recently got placed inside of ShopRite, 52nd and Parkside.
So that's where I'm born and raised at. So I
Okay.
must have been, I was supposed to take this question. It must have been God talking to me. So the question is, how do you expand your marketing?
Market more. I do everything word of mouth, or I go out, pass flyers out, but I want to expand more.
So I'm a firm believer of this. You have to figure out what's different than everybody else is doing.
Okay.
Because if everybody else is doing the same type of catering, nothing looks different.
Gotcha.
What could you offer that's different than the other consumers? Like, for example, if I was a catering business, I would try to cater to maybe the needs of elderly people or kids.
We do.
Well, what I'm saying is how I would do it is I would do it differently than the rest of the world is doing it, so that
Gotcha.
now you could stand out and then you could have your own spotlight.
Okay.
And then behind that, you tell your story,
Okay.
how you built your brand, and believe in it. And when you talk and make people feel it, make people
Yes.
think that they crazy for not believing in you and listening to you.
Ashe.
And that's when you can sell your product. And that's when you ain't gonna have to worry about Instagram, and you ain't gonna have to worry about somebody supporting you, because guess what? When you walk this ground and you feel confident and comfortable in your skin,
Yes, sir.
you're gonna sell your product the way you wanna sell it, and you're gonna make money, and you're gonna be successful, and you're gonna put other people in position, and you're gonna keep on moving forward.
It
So
told
that's
me
my
what I
advice
needed to
I give
know.
you.
Thank you. Great
Yep.
advice. I appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, so what I would say is, with social media is such a funny thing, and what I like to tell folks is, don't try to compete with what everyone else is doing. Double down on what you see is working.
Okay.
So don't try to reinvent the wheel. If word of mouth is what's working the best, and you're just trying to grow in the Philadelphia area, then maybe it's influencers, maybe it's doing local events
Okay.
to get the buzz going, whatever don't try to, because ads work, they do have their place, but for something like what you're building with your catering company, it's getting the product into as many people's hands as possible, so that
Right.
because word of mouth is still the best form of marketing.
Right.
And so if that's what's working, then okay, double down on that and try to find different ways to get people talking about your product, whether it's sponsoring a school lunch or bringing product to local neighborhoods, block party, whatever it is, trying to get your product, whatever that thing is that you're known for, whether it's the mac and cheese, whether it's the pie, get that out into as many people's hands as possible, and then I believe it'll come back.
Thank you. I appreciate all your
I would add.
Yes, please.
I would add, don't think of it as word of mouth or social media.
Okay.
I think both Derrick and Nahum both kind of said, if you can get other people who are on social media, who are good at it, influencers or just people in your circle who believe in you, get them to talk about you on social media and drive them back to you. So it doesn't have to be you.
Yes.
But the people that believe in you and love what you're doing, get them to be your word of mouth, because social media really is word of mouth. It's
Right.
a form of word of mouth. You're just saying you don't want to be the one doing it. But get the people in your circle to talk about your business for you, and that'll leverage word of mouth on social media for you.
Awesome. I appreciate all of the feedback. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your question. Next question.
Hello, my name is Melody, and I'm from North Philadelphia, and I'm a training consultant specialist where I train teachers and district managers and principals how to implement positive strategies within schools to create a healthy culture within schools. Right now, our Philadelphia School District is in a state of emergency because our company decided that we don't want to do business with the city of Philadelphia. So this puts me in a state to ask you this question today. What are you doing within your business to create educational opportunities for our youth? And if you don't have one, I would love to create one for you.
So I got a foundation. It's called David and Derrick Hayes Foundation. And so I'm going to just double back real fast. My father, growing up, he was like the father to many kids in the neighborhood, my friends. So they didn't have a parent. So when my father died, I wanted to carry the legacy of keep on, helping the youth out. So I built this foundation. And now we help out with scholarships where we donate $2,500 scholarships, maybe $500 scholarships to kids that may go through jams that's actually doing good in school. We was able to provide 40 laptops to the juvenile justice system. So I think that's a big part of playing in any business. That's why I was telling her it's not what you're selling, it's your story and what you're doing for people. So in my company, that's a big thing that we do. Like, we give back and we actually give to the community, to the kids, because, like I said, they don't have the resources. So if me and you could partner up and you can be my hub in Philadelphia, because this is my next give back. So let's make something happen.
Excellent.
And I would just add that most McDonald's owners, and we are one that do this, we have archway to opportunity. So we provide scholarship assistance for our employees. We also provide English as a second language. And and not only just crew, by the way, and for managers too. So that benefit is out there, that opportunity is out there, and it's up to $2,500 a year. For full-time managers, it's $3,000. So we do things for students in terms of education.
Okay. How many more people are in line? Okay, we'll get these last two questions in, and we can wrap. But please, if you make them quick questions, we get everybody in without anybody being left out.
I guess they had the mic positioned properly. But listen, my name is Scientist Grant Hank, and I'm from West Philly, so I want to congratulate you, Derrick, on the work you've done.
Thank you.
What I've done is, and this is interesting because I wasn't even thinking about this until I came here. I bought a commercial building that is a block long, and it literally sits at the foot of LaSalle University. So when you guys started talking about the restaurant piece, my question is, how can I partner with people who are in the food industry so that we can put a restaurant in this commercial space? That's just my question.
They want me to come home. So we got something in Atlanta called Ponce City Market. Anybody familiar with that? So if it's big enough, let's make our Black Ponce City Market.
All right. Final question.
First of all, Derrick, you guys are amazing. I'm an entrepreneur, Barry Baptiste. Actually, I have a person here that I'm mentoring. We're going to talk about getting her wonderful ice cream product into your location. My question to you, are you planning to do franchise opportunity?
So I'm going to tell you a crazy story. I actually have my FDD. I've got over 1,600 franchise offers right now. And I paused on it because my girlfriend, which is my partner, she was about to franchise, and she was like, I think we should build 10 locations corporate owned first before we do it. And to be honest, I took that advice because I knew that it's so easy to make a mistake at something you work so hard for, and somebody might not understand or love it the way you love it. And right now, I just didn't want to take that chance, because if I make $2-3 million in one location, you got to do the same thing. And if you don't make it, you can now countersue me for putting out these numbers. So I was able to put my FDD together off of popularity and had people going crazy off of not even caring about numbers. They just felt like the concept was going to work. And I didn't want to have that massive, fast success to just be like, I made it and I got 1,000 locations and I wasn't able to keep them. So right now, the short question to that is I'm going to build 10 corporate locations before I start franchising. But we get franchise offers every single day, and every time I see my emails bing, I'm like, wow, it's another franchise offer. But I'm just not ready at the moment, in spirit. Now, me personally, I know how to build a kitchen better than anybody, but I just feel like the actual, branding and scaling the company, we still got to work on some things.
Derrick, I love that answer.
Do we
I'd
have-
love
do
to
we have
talk
time?
to you. There's a
We have time for one more question.
sure, there's a franchise called Tropical Smoothie Cafe. My godbrother and I own 5 of them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we'd love to
Well,
talk to
when
you.
I
And we're
start
completely black
franchising
owned.
Big Dave's, I'll let you know.
All right, good.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley. I own Boogie Seafood and Wings. It's located in Camden. I'm not open yet. Can you hear me? This way? Better? Okay. My name is Ashley. My last name is Brown. I own Boogie Seafood and Wings. I'm not open yet. I'm located in Camden. My question is, how do you get people to work with you when you don't have a whole bunch of capital and money to pay them just yet?
Where Luke at? Luke, stand up for me. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Luke used to make $600 every 2 weeks. Luke is good right now. You know why? Because he believed in my mission and my heart. You got to make the people feel you that they're not working for you and they're working with you.
All right. I appreciate it.
saying?
Thank you.
Let's give our panel just another great round of applause. One of the things that each of you have shown that I think is really an important takeaway, not just for this business, but for all the entrepreneurs. Start with what you got, learn as you go, don't be discouraged by setbacks, and you don't have to have all the answers today.
That's right.
You don't have to have all the answers today. Do what you can now with what you got. The other thing that I really appreciated from what you guys shared is you were also willing to admit when you weren't ready for a certain step. What you just said, yeah, I can franchise tomorrow, but is that really right for the long-term goal? You could be in 100 or retail outlets or 1,000, but is the business ready for that yet? And I see so many entrepreneurs that experience early success run headlong into failure, meaning end of the business because they grow too fast, they take on too much. So again, I really appreciate each of you for what you've shared today. I think our audience does too. Another round of applause. Where are your McDonald's located?
I am on City Avenue. I'm on the main line, first black female on the main line. First black female in the city of Philadelphia. First and only black in Allentown. I'm also in Brookhaven, in Hatboro, and Abington, and Bensalem. I'm spread out, 12. That's it.
Where can we find GoOats?
In this, well, you can do online, GoOats.life. You can do Instacart. It's available on there. It's available on GoPuff. And then, but if you're looking for a retail store, we're in all the Whole Foods in this area, in the Philadelphia area.
And I know you're in ATL, but where can we get our Dave's Cheesesteaks?
Well, my landmark location is 57 Forsyth Street. It's downtown Atlanta. It's across from Georgia State. And I got another location in Doraville, 6035 Peachtree Road. And it sits by my old location where I started at. And the gas station is about maybe 3 miles down because I want to stay up that end. And I'm building my third location right now, which is going to be the first drive-through location. And that's in Jonesboro, Georgia. We should be open, hopefully, with this permit in like fourth quarter. And I'm in the midst of opening 5 more locations in different cities right now. So everything is panning out. But the Big John coming to Philly, that's my food truck. We go on tour, so I'm going to have it coming to Philly soon to see if I want to put it there. I just want to bring it home so bad so I can just show people that they ain't got the best cheesesteaks, so.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, McDonald's, for hosting this session. Thank you for Instacart's support of this session and support of this conference. And thank you all for sharing your expertise.
Thank you.
Yep, that ends our session. Thank you. I appreciate it, man.